Hello everyone, welcome back. Apologies, it's been a couple of weeks since the last update. I haven't had a great deal of time to spend in here unfortunately, but I managed to sneak a few hours in this weekend, which was good, and mainly spent it on the Stone Brothers Falcon, just trying to get a bit of an idea what we need for this car and I guess what the plan is moving forward with it. You'll see in this video we've found a few hidden nasties and a few ugly issues that we were hoping weren't there, but unfortunately they are. And a few problems that we knew about are going to be a far bigger workload to rectify. So I'll go through it all with you now and bring you up to speed on the very latest. There's also a little part in the engine bay that we had no idea what it was, and one of our followers explained it to us, which is really cool and something that was unique to the Stone Brothers Falcon. So I hope you enjoy. This is the very latest on the restoration of the Ingall Stone Brothers Falcon. So we thought we'd start with the fuel tank because we know that there's items in here that has to be replaced. So your fuel cell inside the car have a timeline on them. So given the car's sat for over a decade, that'll be well out of date. So we know that needs to be changed. So we thought we'd just have a little bit of a look at the rest of the system and just get an idea what work's going to be required. Now, the big concern we have is when you crack the fuel fillers and the air vent, you can smell stale fuel. So there's obviously fuel in the car. There's not a lot, but there's enough to, I guess, cause a bit of an issue. Now, the good news is it is unleaded fuel. It's not the ethanol blended fuel the supercars ran. This car predates that, because that ethanol blended fuel does tend to eat into rubbers and bits and pieces when it sits for a while. So that is one positive, but that's about where it ends, which I'll show you here now. So the layout of this boot, how it works, obviously you've got your fuel filler point there to fill your tank, and then it goes down into your main fuel cell. So as your fuel goes in, it pushes air out. That's why there's two vents. And inside the fuel tank, there's lift pumps, and it pumps the fuel out of the fuel tank, up these lines, up into the fuel pot, which is that tank there. So they've got two lines going into that. It fills that tank up, and then the main fuel pump for the engine takes fuel out of here, runs through into a high pressure fuel pump, through a fuel filter, and back to the engine. Now, you'll see here, it takes fuel from halfway up the fuel pot. Now, the reason it does that is it's got a fuel reserve on it. So this tank is always filling up. So as the engine takes fuel, it keeps, these lines keep the fuel pouring in. And what happens is when the car runs out of fuel from the main tank, this obviously drops. And when it gets below this level, it triggers this sensor. So then you turn the reserve pumps on inside the car, which effectively makes this line redundant. And then it starts pumping out of this line, which goes into another pump and another fuel filter, and that goes back to the front of the car. So using that theory, if you turn the lift pumps on inside the fuel tank and take these fittings off here, you can pump out whatever fuel's still left in the fuel tank. Now, that was all the plan, but if you have a look here, we've taken these off already. And if you have a look down in there, there's a whole heap of crystallized fuel and gunk in there. So I can guarantee those lift pumps will be shot, and I wouldn't mind betting that obviously the fuel's been sitting in the system. These high pressure pumps and everything will be the same. So what we'll have to do is to strip this entire system out. We'll pull the fuel pot out, we'll pull everything out and clean it, bench test everything, obviously throw a new fuel cell in there, and then we'll start working our way toward the front of the car. Now, if we look inside the car and just cover off the fuel system, I'll show you where that reserve switch is on the dashboard, which leads us into the next thing that we found. So you can see there, you've got your fuel reserve switch there. So that's obviously activates that bottom pump, and that switches it back off. Now, inside the car, you can see there's L wind and R wind. Now that's left-hand window and right-hand window. So this car being 2003, was built originally with electric windows, same as your standard road car. Now, if we have a look at the car as it sits today, it's got Perspex windows, and they're all clipped in. So this all needs to go, and instantly you think, okay, well, we'll chuck a set of glass in it, no big deal. But if we go inside, this door card here is original. It's all SBR embossed. It's got the championship winning stickers on it from the Shannon's Nationals when it won the championship. But if you have a look on the inside of the door card, all the inside of the door's been cut away, and it's had that energy absorbing material built into it, which were the regulations at the time. So straight away it goes from door glass to complete doors, and obviously painting and everything as well. So the job is snowballing a little bit. Everywhere you look, the job seems to be getting bigger and bigger. And we covered in our last video the floor damage on the car, which we had a look at from the underside. You can see inside the car it's not a lot better, but it did have some tape and some covers on it, and we've removed them. And if we work our way back up the tail shaft tunnel, you can see there's actually a hole. So we are going to have to intervene somehow with this issue. You can actually see the rear firewall, the rear rivets have been blown out of it as well. So it's been a fairly catastrophic failure. And we have found some date coding and bits and pieces and some parts underneath the car that are actually from a rival team, which we'll lift the car up now and have a look, which will help us get an idea as to when this exactly happened. But you can see we are going to need to do something there, and the damage goes all the way basically to the gearbox, all the way through to the back of the car. So I'll lift the car up now and have a bit of a look underneath. So if we go to the back of the car and have a look at those holes from the underside, you can see the damage is quite severe underneath. Now that's the hole we were just looking through from inside the car, but if you have a look where the rear of the tail shaft has failed, you can see there it's done a full job on the floor. So if you have a look around the other side, it's actually got a patch over the other side as well. So there is a fair bit of damage there that needs repairing. It's given the oil cooler a clout at the same time. Now you can see here, which is interesting to try and get a timeline on when this happened. If we have a look at the diff yoke, which it was obviously replaced when they had the tail shaft issue, if we come around this side, you can see it's got some numbers on it. Now it's FPR marked, but it's the 3rd month of 2011 is the date code on it. Now this car ran up actively till around 2012, 2013. So it's fair to say, well, we know for a fact this diff yoke was replaced after 2011. So it's fair to say that the damage to the floor happened very late in the car's life. If you look at it, it hasn't got a lot of grease and rust and dirt all over it. So it makes us more inclined to want to repair this properly, especially now that there's a hole in it. But we've then got the predicament where we want to try and preserve as much of the original paint inside the car as we can. So we'll, as we go through the car, we'll keep documenting all this so we can make one decision and make it right the first time. If you go back on the center, a bit further on the diff, you can see that there's FPR markings, and then you go back a little bit further and it's FPR again. Now, you may wonder why there's FPR parts in a Stone Brothers car. This car ran as a factory Ford under the Ford Rising Stars program from 2006, I think it was, onwards in the Super 2 or Dunlop series. So ProDrive helps support that program. They had this car and a ProDrive or an FPR Falcon, so that's why a lot of the parts ended up in this car, or a lot of the consumable parts. When I say consumables, if you have a look at the bodywork on the car and you look at the rear bar, the inside of that is FPR marked. Just one other little side note as the car goes back on the ground, you can see here in the rear end of the car, all the Motech system is still in the car. Now, the Super Cheap Auto Falcon and FTR3 didn't have any of this in it when we got it because it was all removed to be a ride car. But you can see here, your bottom shock bolt, it's just a standard bolt that's gone through the diff housing to secure it. But you can see here the bolt's drilled, and there's a little sensor that screws in to the back of the car. And it goes all the way up alongside the shock absorber and mounts in up here. Now what that does is as the suspension moves, that little sensor goes with it, and it gives you an idea of suspension travel, so you can do a setup on the car and also download all the telemetry when the car returns to pit lane. So it's got those sensors on all 4 corners of the car, which all still stays today. and it's also got them on the steering column to do steering movement. Basically, it's as it was when it left the racetrack over a decade ago. So we've got to obviously power all these systems up and make sure they still work, but it's really cool to see that a lot of it has survived despite it not turning a wheel in over a decade. So we've got round to the front of the car, and there's pretty well a whole video's worth of content that we'll put together once we rip into getting the engine apart. But we've got the front bar off the car, and as you can see, the bar mounts are a little bit second-hand. The poor thing's had that many hits over the years. It's been repaired numerous times, so ideally they'll all need to be refabricated. Interesting that the bar mounts go straight into the front chassis rails, same as the Super Cheap Auto Falcon, except with these they're a bolt-off system, which makes sense when you think about it, the amount of hits they have in the front. But one thing I wanted to quickly show you in the engine bay, which is really interesting, and again, it's just little pieces of history that you don't see. So in the engine bay here, there's this ducting, and it comes out of the main feed for your airbox and your radiator. See there, it's just off the side there, and it goes around, and it's just been sitting next to the headlight. So it's sitting there doing nothing. Had no idea what it was there for. Now, I had someone message me that explained it to me, which was really interesting. Stones didn't run fans on their alternators because of the unnecessary weight. So you can see where that belt is there. It's a bit hard to show you, but there's no fan on the alternator. So they molded in a duct off the main air feed to the front of the car, and they ran it around the back of the alternator for the enduros, which kept the alternator cool for the longer running. So for the short sprint races, it wasn't so much of a problem, but certainly for Bathurst and Sandown and the longer races, that was critical to making sure the car made the finish line. So as you can see, the job's getting bigger and bigger the more we look, so we need to really go over the rest of the car and then reassess where we're at with everything. What we thought would be replacing door glass and maybe a window motor has turned into a full set of doors, painting them. So there's a fair bit of work to do. Obviously the fuel system needs to be fully rebuilt or replaced, and then that's without looking at the engine, and obviously there's the floor debacle as well. So there's a fair bit to do. So we'll keep pushing on and going over the car, and we'll keep bringing you the content as we go. Once we get the engine inspected and know what it's like, then we'll really lock down a plan on how we're going to attack this car. We had originally hoped to get it back on track before we do anything really cosmetic related, but if we've got to refabricate bar mounts, we've got to replace doors and that to bring it back to its original specification, it may be that we do all that before the car does hit the track. So we'll keep you in the loop as we go. If you've got any questions or thoughts on it, please let us know. We'll keep you updated as we go, and thanks again for your support. We'll speak with you soon.